Hello Army, welcome back to my channel. If you've been following along with everything happening on the European leg of the Arirang World Tour, then you already know that Paris was always going to be one of the most anticipated stops on this entire run. BTS hadn't performed in the city in 7 years, and after that kind of wait, expectations were sky high heading into these two shows at the legendary Stade de France. We already talked about night 1, when the entire stadium, all 88,000 people packed inside, watched the group tear through their set, and when word got out that France's own president and first lady were spotted in the crowd enjoying the show right alongside everyone else. That alone made headlines around the world. But if you thought night 1 was going to be the peak of this Paris stop, get ready, because night 2 brought its own entirely different kind of energy, and at the center of it all was Jimin, delivering what so many fans in attendance and watching online are already calling one of the wildest, most electric performances of this entire world tour. So let's set the scene. Saturday, July 18th, 2026. The stadium fills up again, this time without the added buzz of presidential attendance, but with something else building in the air. If you've been following the tour city by city, you know that the second night of any stop tends to carry its own unique feeling. By the second show, the members have already gotten a read on the crowd, they've already settled into the rhythm of the city, and there's this sense of comfort and looseness that starts to show up on stage. That's exactly what seems to have happened in Paris on night 2, and judging by the flood of fan cams, clips, and reactions that have been circulating since the concert wrapped, Jimin in particular brought an entirely new level of intensity to his performance. From the moment the show kicked off, fans in the stadium could feel that something different was building. The energy from the crowd was already electric, still riding the momentum of the night before, still buzzing from the excitement of seeing BTS back on French soil after all these years. And as the setlist rolled through some of the group's most beloved tracks, it became clear pretty quickly that this was going to be a night people would be talking about for a long time. Fan footage from various points around the stadium captured Jimin moving across the stage with this incredible sense of freedom, throwing himself fully into every performance, every transition, every moment where the choreography called for maximum intensity. One of the details that immediately caught everyone's attention was his look for the night. Jimin stepped out with his hair in that signature blonde that has become such a defining visual of this entire European leg, and he paired it with a look that fans quickly zeroed in on, an olive green vest that gave his overall styling this rugged, rock and roll edge that felt like a perfect match for the raw energy he was bringing to the performance. It's honestly incredible how much attention these small styling choices generate within this fandom, but that's part of what makes following this tour so much fun. Every city brings a slightly different visual direction, and fans have been documenting every single change with the kind of dedication that honestly deserves its own round of applause. But it wasn't just about the outfit. What really set this performance apart, according to countless fans who were either in the stadium or watching the clips roll in online afterward, was just how much Jimin threw himself into every single moment on that stage. There's a difference between an idol going through the motions of a well-rehearsed performance and an idol who looks like he's genuinely losing himself in the music, feeding off the crowd's energy, and pushing his own performance further because of it. And from everything that's been shared since the concert ended, night 2 in Paris was very much the latter. Fans have been describing his energy as unstoppable, describing moments where he seemed to be giving absolutely everything he had, whether that was during high-energy tracks that called for explosive choreography or during more emotional moments where his stage presence carried an entirely different kind of intensity. If you've spent any time scrolling through clips from this show, you've probably already seen some of the reactions rolling in. Comments describing the performance as one of the wildest of the entire tour so far. Comments from fans who have been to multiple stops on this world tour saying that this particular night felt different, felt like something special even by the standards of what has already been an incredible run of shows. And that's really saying something, considering just how much this tour has already delivered across stops in places like Madrid, Brussels, London, and Munich, each of which brought its own unforgettable moments. Let's talk a little bit about why night 2 shows on a tour like this often end up hitting differently than the first night in any given city. There's a psychology to it that makes a lot of sense when you think about it. On night 1, there's naturally a certain amount of pressure and adjustment happening. The members are getting a feel for the venue, for the specific energy of that city's crowd, for any local factors that might affect how the show comes together. By the time night 2 rolls around, all of that uncertainty has already been worked through. The members know exactly what worked the night before, they know how the crowd responds to certain moments, and they can lean into that knowledge to push their performances even further. It's a pattern we've actually seen play out across multiple stops on this tour, where the second night in a city often produces some of the most memorable, most talked about moments precisely because of that added comfort and confidence. And Paris Night 2 seems to be a perfect example of that pattern playing out in real time. With the added context of the historic nature of this stop, BTS returning to Stade de France for the first time in 7 years, there was clearly a sense among the members that this was a moment worth giving everything to. And from what fans have been sharing since the show wrapped, that's exactly what happened, especially where Jimin was concerned. Let's dig a little deeper into what specifically stood out about his performance this particular night. Fans who caught different angles of the show have pointed to several standout moments throughout the set. There were moments during the more high-tempo, dance-heavy portions of the show where his movement felt sharper, more explosive, more physically committed than usual. There were moments during transitions between songs where he seemed completely locked into the crowd, feeding off their energy and giving it right back tenfold. And there were moments captured in close-up fan cam footage where his expressions alone told the story of just how present and engaged he was in that specific performance, in that specific moment, in that specific stadium, on that specific night. It's worth pointing out just how quickly this kind of content spreads once a concert wraps up, especially in this current era of social media where fans are recording and sharing clips in real time. Within hours of the Paris Night 2 show ending, social media platforms were already flooded with footage from different angles, different moments, different perspectives of the same overall show. And what's fascinating is watching how quickly certain moments rise to the top of that conversation, becoming the clips that get shared over and over again, the moments that end up defining how an entire concert gets remembered in the collective memory of the fandom. For this particular show, it's become pretty clear that Jimin's performance is one of, if not the, defining storyline coming out of Paris Night 2. And that's honestly not surprising if you've followed his career at all over the years. He's built a reputation, going all the way back to BTS's earliest days, as one of the most consistently intense and committed performers in the group, someone who treats every single show, regardless of the size of the crowd or the significance of the stop, as an opportunity to give absolutely everything he has. That reputation has only grown since his return from military service, with fans across every stop of this tour consistently pointing to his performances as some of the most memorable moments of each individual show. Let's also take a moment to talk about the broader context of this Paris stop within the larger story of the Arirang World Tour. This tour has already been described as the most ambitious of BTS's career, spanning dozens of dates across multiple continents, and marking first-time performances in a number of major cities around the world. The European leg specifically has taken the group through Madrid, Brussels, London, and Munich before finally arriving here in Paris to close out this particular stretch of the tour. Each of these stops has generated its own wave of memorable content, whether that's been through standout performance moments, fan interactions, fashion choices, or specific viral clips that have taken over social media in the days following each show. Paris, given the 7-year gap since BTS's last performance in the city, always carried a little bit of extra weight and significance heading into these 2 nights. And it's clear from everything that's come out of both shows that the group, and the fans in attendance, understood the magnitude of the moment. Night 1 gave us that unforgettable image of the French president and First Lady enjoying the show alongside 88,000 other fans, a moment that made headlines well beyond the usual K-pop news circuit and introduced BTS's ongoing cultural relevance to an entirely new segment of mainstream media coverage. And now Night 2 has given us this incredible display of raw performance energy from Jimin, a moment that, while perhaps not making the same kind of mainstream political headlines, has absolutely dominated conversation within the fandom itself. It's honestly fascinating to think about how these 2 nights, back-to-back, in the same stadium, with essentially the same setlist and the same 7 members on stage, could end up generating such different but equally significant storylines. But that's really a testament to just how much depth and layering exists within a tour of this scale. Every single night offers up new possibilities for what might end up becoming the defining moment, and it's genuinely part of what makes following a tour like this, night after night, city after city, such a rewarding experience for fans all around the world. Now let's talk a bit more about what makes Jimin's stage presence so consistently compelling, because I think it's worth breaking down some of the specific elements that fans and even casual observers tend to point to when describing his performances. There's his physicality, first and foremost, the way he moves through choreography with this combination of precision and raw emotional expression that few performers manage to balance as effectively as he does. There's his vocal delivery, which has continued to evolve and mature over the years, bringing an increasing amount of texture and emotional depth to even the most high-energy tracks in the setlist. And there's simply his presence, that intangible quality that draws the eye whenever he's on stage, regardless of what specifically he's doing in any given moment. All of these elements combined are exactly why performances like the one we saw on Paris Night 2 tend to generate this level of conversation and excitement. It's not just about a single flashy moment or a single viral clip, though there have certainly been plenty of those shared since the show wrapped. It's about the overall cumulative effect of watching someone give absolutely everything they have to a performance, night after night, city after city, over the course of an incredibly demanding world tour schedule. And that demanding schedule is worth acknowledging here too. By the time this Paris stop rolled around, BTS had already been touring for months, hitting stop after stop across multiple continents, adjusting to new time zones, new stadiums, new local conditions, all while maintaining the kind of performance quality and energy that fans have come to expect from them. The fact that Jimin was able to deliver what so many are describing as one of the wildest, most intense performances of the entire tour, at this specific point in an already grueling schedule, really does speak to both his physical conditioning and his genuine passion for performing live in front of these crowds. Let's also touch on the setlist itself for a moment, because the specific structure of these shows plays a significant role in creating the kind of moments we're discussing here. The Arirang World Tour setlist draws from across BTS's entire discography, blending newer material from their most recent album with beloved tracks from throughout their career, creating this dynamic flow between high-energy dance numbers and more emotionally driven moments. It's within that structure that performers like Jimin have the opportunity to really showcase the full range of what they bring to a live show, moving from explosive choreography one moment to more intimate, vocally driven segments the next. Fancam footage from Paris Night 2 has captured him excelling across pretty much every part of that spectrum, whether that's during the most physically demanding choreographed sections of the set or during quieter moments where his vocal performance and stage presence alone were enough to hold the crowd's complete attention. It's this range, this ability to shift seamlessly between different performance modes throughout a single show, that really elevates a performance from simply good to genuinely unforgettable in the eyes of the people watching. I also want to touch on the crowd's role in all of this, because I think it's important to remember that a performance like this doesn't happen in isolation. The energy that Jimin, and really the entire group, brought to the stage on Night 2 was clearly fed and amplified by the crowd's own response throughout the show. 88,000 people, many of whom had been waiting years for this exact moment, brought an intensity of their own that clearly fed back into the performers on stage. It's this kind of feedback loop between performer and audience that tends to produce the most memorable live show moments, and Paris Night 2 seems to be a textbook example of that dynamic playing out at its absolute best. Let's also spend a moment talking about how this Paris stop fits into the broader narrative of BTS's post-military service era. This entire Arirang World Tour represents the group's first major global touring cycle since all 7 members completed their mandatory service, and there's been this palpable sense throughout the tour of the group rediscovering and reaffirming their connection with fans on this massive, arena-filling scale. Every stop has carried a little bit of that underlying emotional weight, this idea of a group and a fandom reconnecting after a period of separation, and Paris, given the added significance of it being their first performance in the city in 7 years, carried an extra layer of that emotional resonance. Within that context, a performance like the one Jimin delivered on Night 2 takes on even more significance. It's not just about a single artist having a great night on stage, it's about what that kind of performance represents in the broader story of this group's journey, their return to global touring, and their continued ability to connect with audiences at this massive scale, even after everything they've been through over the past several years. Let's shift gears for a moment and talk about how this kind of concert content typically continues to circulate and generate conversation in the days and weeks following a show like this. Based on the pattern we've seen at previous stops on this tour, it's likely that clips and highlights from Paris Night 2 will continue to make the rounds across social media platforms for quite some time, with fan accounts continuing to share different angles, different moments, and different perspectives of the same overall performance. This kind of ongoing engagement is part of what has made this entire tour such a rich source of content and conversation, month after month, stop after stop. It's also worth noting how this kind of viral concert moment tends to interact with the broader brand reputation metrics we've discussed in previous videos on this channel. Performances like this one, generating this level of organic excitement and conversation across social media, are exactly the kind of activity that feeds into those monthly brand reputation rankings we've talked about before. Keywords like Paris and blonde have already started showing up prominently in conversations surrounding Jimin following this tour stop, and it wouldn't be surprising to see similar keywords reflected in whatever comes out of next month's brand reputation analysis, given just how much attention this specific performance has already generated in such a short amount of time. Now, let's take a moment to reflect on just how remarkable it is that a group with BTS's level of experience and career longevity continues to generate this kind of raw, visceral excitement around their live performances. We're talking about artists who have been performing at the highest level of the industry for well over a decade at this point, who have already achieved essentially every major milestone a group in this genre could hope to achieve, and who are still out here, night after night, delivering performances that generate this level of genuine, spontaneous excitement from both longtime fans and newer audiences discovering their music. That kind of sustained quality and intensity doesn't happen by accident. It's the result of years of dedication to their craft, a genuine passion for connecting with audiences through live performance, and an ongoing commitment to giving everything they have to every single show, regardless of how many stops into a tour they might be, regardless of how demanding the overall schedule has become. Jimin's performance on Paris Night 2 is really just the latest example in a long, consistent pattern of this group, and this artist specifically, continuing to raise the bar for what a live K-pop performance can look like. Let's also briefly touch on what comes next for the group as this tour continues to move forward. With the European leg of the Ararang World Tour now concluding here in Paris, fans are already looking ahead to whatever comes next on this already historic touring schedule. Given the sheer scale of this tour, spanning dozens of dates across multiple continents, there's likely going to be no shortage of similarly unforgettable moments waiting to be discovered in the months ahead, as the group continues to make their way through the remaining stops on this incredible journey. And if Paris Night 2 is any indication of the kind of energy and commitment we can continue to expect from performers like Jimin as this tour rolls on, then fans everywhere have quite a lot to look forward to. This kind of performance, one that generates genuine, widespread excitement not just within the immediate fandom but across the broader conversation happening online, is exactly the kind of moment that tends to define how an entire tour gets remembered in the years that follow. Before we wrap up here, I do want to take a moment to acknowledge just how special it is to be following along with this journey in real time, watching each new stop generate its own unique set of memorable moments, and watching artists like Jimin continue to push themselves to deliver these incredible performances night after night, city after city, over the course of what has already been an incredibly demanding and ambitious world tour. Moments like Paris Night 2 remind us why so many people around the world continue to be drawn to this group and to this fandom in the first place, this genuine, sustained connection between performer and audience that continues to produce these unforgettable live show experiences, even years into a career that has already achieved essentially every milestone imaginable within this industry. So that's the full breakdown of what happened during BTS's second night in Paris, and just how much energy and intensity Jimin brought to that stage during what so many fans are already calling one of the wildest performances of this entire world tour. From his standout look for the night, to the sheer physical commitment he brought to every part of the performance, to the way the crowd's own energy seemed to feed directly back into his performance throughout the show, this was clearly a night that's going to stick in the memory of everyone who witnessed it, whether they were in the stadium themselves or watching the endless stream of clips that have been circulating online ever since. Thank you so much for watching this video all the way through. If you enjoyed this breakdown and want to stay updated on everything happening throughout the rest of the Ararang World Tour, make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss an update. Drop a comment down below letting me know what you thought about this Paris Night 2 performance, and if you were lucky enough to be in the stadium yourself, I would absolutely love to hear about your personal experience watching this show live. As always, thank you for being here, thank you for your continued support, and I'll see you in the next video.